Hi, folks, and welcome to a more civilized age. I'm Matt, and joined with me today is my long time friends, Brian Borg from the Twin Sons Foundation, president of the Twin Sons Foundation, charitable organization that donates its books to children and children's hospitals and schools and whatnot. And I have another idea I want to run by you after this because I just remembered something else. I thought, ooh, that's where my next donation run will be.
Nice.
But thanks for coming on, Brian.
Always happy to be here.
And of course, my wingman here, or maybe I'm his wingman now since he's got the way bigger channel. He's way more popular than me, folks. If you play video games, you may know him, and there is a bounty on his head by Naughty Dog right now. I mean, it's pretty big. I mean, pretty soon Boba Fett's going to come after him because it's going up higher and higher. But anyway, Ryan Kendall from RK Outpost. Thanks, Ryan, for joining.
Oh, of course, my pleasure. I always look forward to these. I got left out of the conversation last month. I just got told, hey, can you make it this night? I'm like, no, I don't think so. Didn't hear anything back. All of a sudden, I see an episode of A More Civilized Age. I'm not on it. I say, okay, I got the hint. I had to beg, borrow, and steal to get back on today.
Wait. Are you telling me that the take from you at the beginning of that episode was not legitimate? I totally thought you sided with Matt on that one. What the heck?
No, shockingly.
He did. I swear everything I told at the beginning of that last episode of More Civilized Age was true. It's what he told me.
I will dispute the record officially.
Now, before we kick off, you wanted to throw more dirt in my eye. So go ahead.
Well, so this wasn't actually planned. Before we do this, we do get together to say, hey, we're going to cover like these topics, just pretty not very specific at all, just pretty broad general thing. When I came in the back room, I said, hey, I have something else I might want to throw in there. Now, you guys had your conversation about iJedi. I haven't read iJedi in a long time, but I remember really enjoying it and really loving it. I am in the middle of reading the Jedi Academy trilogy for the first time in a very long time. I'm through Jedi Search, which is very ironically named because literally almost no Jedi searching goes on in the book. And then I just finished Dark Apprentice. I'm about to start reading Champions of the Force for the EU book club that I do rotating on some rotating channels. And I forgot how much I didn't like those books. Now, I'm not saying they're horrible or anything like that, but what I am saying is I just don't think it's to the level of some other things from that era, specifically when we're talking about series. Not to the same level as, obviously, Zahn's trilogy or Stackpool's Rogue Squadron. And I feel like the characters in there, like the things they do, don't make any sense sometimes, and I'm having a hard time reading it with everything else that I'm used to reading. What do you guys think about that? Your conversation was mostly on iJedi, but I know Matt loves it. I know Matt loves the Jedi Academy trilogy, but it's very meh for me.
Is it Kevin J. Anderson or is it just the story?
It's the story. It's not Kevin J. Anderson because I like
how it's written. That you know what I'm saying?
It's
pacing.
It's the things that the characters are doing. So, for instance, the beginning of Dark Apprentice, when Akbar, for some reason, they're on some diplomatic mission, and Akbar decides that this one time only, I'm the most important. I'm the only person I trust to ferry Leia Organa Solo around. It has to be me in a B-wing, and he crashes into the thing. Leia needs help. Mon Mothma goes, Han, we need you. Leia needs you right now. He's like, I'll be right there. And they drop everything to be right there, except him and Lando get into a little argument. He's like, all right, let's play Sabak. Let's disrupt everything I'm doing and play a card game for my ship, even though I just rushed off to try to get to the other side of the galaxy because my wife.
That's great. It's comedy gold. Plus, that's a great scene because Akbar's about to crash. He says, is it the Vorians? Is that who?
The Vor. I think it's the Vor.
Vor. Okay. And
tell them I'm sorry.
Tell them I'm sorry. Because he knows bad things are going to happen, and he's just totally just messing it up. It's great stuff.
Well, I actually think that's a cool I think that's a cool part and it does have emotional weight when Akbar's debating turning off his shield so he just dies when he crashes. like that is a powerful moment. But the idea that for some reason the head of the New Republic military is ferrying Leia around for a diplomatic mission just to him doesn't really make any sense. But I get past that.
On the upside,
have you read the Rebellion era? It's like Leia is one of the most important people, yet she's still flying around the galaxy with Luke and Han. Why? She's really above their pay grade and status and in importance to the Rebellion.
Yes, but why? I agree, but you wouldn't have those two people. Like, I just don't understand why Akbar would be like, I'm the only person that I trust to take her anywhere, because Kip is there, and Han is going to ignore his children once again to spend time with Kip to be the.
First off, I know you have this anti-alien bias, and you don't like Akbar in your story. I like bringing back some of these characters, like Akbar, who doesn't get much love in the expanded universe, and giving him something to do. I think it's more about shining a light, and he was good at that. You look at Darksaber and putting Crix Maydeen, who everyone kind of forgot about was in the movies, and bringing his character back. I think that's what Anderson. I'm being a Kevin J. Anderson apologist right now, I guess. But I think that's just what he did. I mean, if you don't know, folks, Ryan's channel is a canceled channel that tries to just cancel good stuff that's in life. And so
like Disney Star Wars. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Ryan, at least they didn't take Akbar out of the picture like some did.
Yeah. Well, I actually like Akbar's role in it. I was just saying a little aside, as it doesn't make much sense why him and Leia are going around.
If anything of that situation didn't make sense to me, is the fact they used the B-wing to transport everyone around. And I love B-wings. So.
I thought it was great to see a B-wing. And to be honest, remember, their resources are still stretched thin.
That's a fair point.
They're not the strongest. They have to grab what they can use. Still.
They must be really small because you know what they have protecting the Mon Calamari shipyards in this book? Don't worry, we have a squadron of B-wings up there protecting the Mon Calamari shipyards. Oh, good thing to fight off those couple Star Destroyers.
B-wings pack a much power, and we do what we can with what we got. But anyway, I'm looking forward to reading this. I actually am rereading Kevin J. Anderson's Dune books, and I'm on the last book from Dune. In fact, once this post, I'll probably have this already read, and I'll be jumping into Frank Herbert's Dune and kind of moving back and forth between Kevin J. Anderson and Frank Herbert's Dune. But I really enjoy the way he writes characters. And I mean, sure, this is Dune, not Star Wars, but I am excited to revisit his Star Wars stories. Now, it just could be that he just captures my imagination or just does it. And hey, who knows? Maybe they're not as good as I remember either. But I absolutely adored them. What were your thoughts, Brian, when you read them? Did you have fun?
I liked them when I read them. I didn't have any problems with them when I read them. But I got to say, it has been a long time since I read them. So I think it's on my reread list, especially after our conversation last month. It's definitely on that list. It's moved up a little bit on that list, actually.
And I need to apologize. I know I just beat you and Seth down, like with one hand tied behind my back with that argument. But
even though you could hide behind your cough the whole time.
It's weird because the comment section must have been watching a different video because they were thinking that you guys were victorious. I was like, what are you guys watching?
Well, I mean, to be fair, you did have the harder position.
Ryan, you're going, come on, guys, let me gang up on Matt. And I'll be honest, 3 against 1 would have been more fair than 2 against 1. So I apologize, Ryan, for not letting you kick me when I'm down.
I figured the whole cough you had for that, I figured that was just the handicap you were giving us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I probably just had COVID and y'all were just making fun of me for being sick and dying anyway.
Yeah, because you're totally dead right now.
It's interesting because I do, when I'm reading these books, there are elements of it that I love. One of the things that I love about the Jedi Academy trilogy, especially as I'm rereading it and understanding when it was written in perspective now, the connecting tissue that Kevin J. Anderson, the effort he made to link the Thrawn trilogy, Dark Empire, all these things. This book is really like the beginning of what the expanded universe became.
Right.
And all these stories tied in. And I think that is so cool, and I give him a lot of credit for that. And I do love seeing some of these characters, seeing Akbar have an important role. Now, I do think there's something weird going on with Akbar and Winter. I might want to address that with you as well. We have a weird thing going on. I can read a phrase out of this book that makes your eyeballs go, whatever way. And
you like shrimp?
yeah. And, the idea of, again, like Wedge Antilles, I get, he wanted a break, so let's let him be a construction droid operator on Coruscant for a while. Then he's like ferrying Kwizuks around. It's like an excuse to get those characters in there where I feel like they could have written a story that had it made a little more sense. And Luke, this is my big point. Luke is so dumb in these books. The idea that Gantoris, he's like, I realize you weren't the Dark Man. Luke doesn't worry too much about who the Dark Man is. Then he has a vision of Exar Kun. He has Gantoris able to construct a lightsaber and says, you're not the only teacher of the Jedi way on this planet. For some reason, gives the lightsaber back to him. After all of this has happened, when his student is found burnt to a crisp with every other person who has no idea how to use the Force and scared to death, being like, what do we do, Master Skywalker, what do we do? You're just like, pull a Yoda line. Wear the dark side, kids.
No, it's great. He's devastated by this. I think that's a great, powerful scene.
I will say,
Luke made a lot of mistakes in the early days of the Academy. I think he even mentions that in later books when he says that, I've made mistakes, and there's things I think we did. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to make this up, but in Legacy of the Jedi, when Jason is kind of talking down to him, like, you're not great, you're not, doesn't he admit, I have made mistakes, and you're right. I probably
the Force.
I think he admits that he has made mistakes from the very beginning when he became to a master, and I think he's admitting those mistakes. And I really enjoyed that. Like I said, I believe that was the conversation he and Jason had at one point, because Jason's saying, you're not all powerful, you're not all great. You're right, Jason. I make mistakes. I made mistakes from the very beginning. But that's life and everything. I was like, man, that's a great speech. I remember that dialogue between them. So he what does he do at the very beginning of the book? He says, I'm a Jedi Master now. Really? Who told you to? He said, well, I got to be, because I got to get the Jedi back. And was he ready back then? No, he wasn't. He wasn't. And he made a lot of mistakes. And of course, if you read into the, deep expanded universe, you find out that Kyle Katarn and friends who were there, he messed up too, right? Because according to what happened with that First Class 2, even though we don't read about it, is one of Kyle Katarn's enemies kills the RPG character from Star Wars. And I was like, he runs away. And so I was like, Luke's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I would love to see more stories from that Jedi Academy series. I think they should have done another whole book about that, focusing on more Jedi and what was going on, because there's ups and downs, triumphs and tribulations. And Luke it would have been cool to have Luke learning from each one of his mistakes, and I need to do this better. And thinking about it, when you're trying to tackle something this big, you're destined to make mistakes. He didn't have anyone to lean upon. That's why he keeps calling out to Obi-Wan. He keeps, wishing Yoda was there. He wishing someone was there to help him, give him guidance. He didn't have it. And let's be honest, Master Jedi Bunny Ikrit wasn't discovered till like 20 years later. So, which, I'm sure he would have solved all the problems. That little bunny's taking a nap, hitting some hidden temple, watching over a golden globe for Manasseh children.
Well, I will say,
don't laugh.
I will say that the series did a good job of picking Exar Kun and making him the villain, like making him up to be a good villain too, because I remember he was the Star Wars Expanded Universe villain to me for the longest time after I read that series. Like, he was the standard to compare against.
Right. He created the double-bladed lightsaber that Lucas loved so much that he brought in Episode 1. It started with Kevin J. Anderson's novel. Kevin J. Anderson I believe he got a letter from George Lucas too, congratulating him on the series. Did he read it or not? Like, he and Dave Wolverton tell me the same thing. We know we got a letter saying he enjoyed the book, but we don't, does that mean he read it or he was just being nice?
Right.
They don't know. But yeah, I do think George was checking out some of that, because he read Alan Dean Foster's book. And he was reading a few things earlier on, but then when it came time to, you know, touch upon the old trilogy and then make the prequels, he definitely got out of the books but he did read the comic books according to a lot of sources. So he was still connected and interested to hear what other people had to say with his characters and his adventure. But I think Kevin J. Anderson was the man, you are right, that brought Dark Horse into the canon. Dark Horse was left out in the cold.
Zahn refused.
They reached out to Timothy Zahn to say, hey, can we help? We'd like to be a part. And Timothy Zahn, no, thank you. This is my show. Thank you very much. He didn't want to have anything to do with them. He openly mocked Dark Empire, probably still would today. But the thing is, Kevin Jr. like, no, come on, you guys are included. There was a letter mailbag in the back of one of their issues. They said, hey, are you guys connected to the Timothy Zahn trilogy? They said, probably not, because they said, we don't know. We've asked, but we don't think we are. So guys, don't hold us to that. So we don't know. But then Kevin Jr. goes, no, they are. Bring them in. And then he starts tying in, tells the Jedi too. And it's just, I don't know. Well, this is not a Jedi Academy trilogy. But maybe when I reread it and everything, we can go back and revisit and talk about it.
Like I said, I think they would make great future videos as discussions on all these books, because there are people like Ryan who take opposite positions to yours, or you. And
again, I'm completely fine with this. By the way,
well, and I'm nitpicking a lot. Obviously, it just, and I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that in comparison to how I feel about a lot of other books, it's not. For as important as that series is, I don't feel as good about it as a lot of others. And
you're not saying they're the number 1, 2, and 3 worst books in the expanded universe?
No, I'm not saying that. And I do feel for Kevin J. Anderson
out there.
Well, and I do feel for Kevin J. Anderson, because in a lot of ways, people like Zahn goes on to make sure it was very clear that there was nothing going on between Mara and Lando. Well, also the idea that Mara would show up and Han would be like, you're going to even talk to Luke? Last time I saw you wanted to kill each other. Well, no, last time you saw them, they were friendly and smiling, and Luke literally gave her his lightsaber. So they weren't going to kill each other last time you saw them, Han. But that aside, there was nothing going on between Lando and me. That was just for play, to try to do away with any idea that Mara might be with someone that wasn't Luke. And then the same thing kind of happened when I think it's an iJedi, maybe, where Corran is talking to Wedge about Qui. Is that right? Is that an iJedi? Is that another book where he's basically saying you should be with Ayala, like pushing him back to Ayala?
No. What happened was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the beginning of New Jedi Order, right? They're having dinner and they realize, no.
Was it Adumar?
Starfire's the Andumar.
Yeah.
Adumar, there it is.
They're having
was that Alston or Stackpool?
Alston.
That's Alston. But they're having dinner and they decide, you know what, it's just not working. So they agree just to, they're friends and to move on. And then he moves to her because, Wedge needs to keep warm at night, I guess. But
but I thought that there was something in there when Wedge made the delivery to there and Corran was
Qui was with Wedge at that point, I think.
Yeah, she was. And I thought there was something about Corran being like, oh, Wedge, but what about Ayala? I thought you guys, were going to be a thing. Because Michael Stackpole wanting to push Wedge back to his character. You know what I mean? I thought I remember that. I could be wrong. It's been a long time.
There might have been something.
Well, no. Mara does tell Luke that. Oh, we were on a mission together. I was posing as his wife, and you caused him nothing ever happened. Because of course, Zahn absolutely hated that. Now, and it's because Zahn hates minorities. I'm kidding.
Oh man! Don't tell Disney Star Wars. Their entire book sale plan.
The thing is, of course, someone like me reads that in Darksaber, and I was like, yeah, because first I knew it was going to piss off fans. Secondly, I'm like, hey, you can't resist Lando's charm. Lando is a charmer. We know that. I absolutely love Lando. There's no secret there. But it worries me. You have these creeps like Stig Kenobi just talking so much trash on Quizux. You know,
he is constantly talking about her.
But bird ladies' lives matter is what I want to tell Stig. You know, he should follow that hashtag there. But I actually did like it because opposites attract, and no one's more. You know, Wedge is a man of tactical skill and action. She's just a scientist. You know,
Plus, you know, designed Death Star, blew up Death Star.
And she was damaged. She was fragile. Wedge came to her rescue, kind of solidified her world. It also made sense that the relationship fell apart too, even though I was sad too. But they realized it was just a situation that happened that brought them together. They tried to make it out because they tried to make it happen because they're both good people, but eventually said no because everyone wanted Wedge with someone else, and that's fine. And the fans get what they want.
And you know, she lost her memory. So.
Well, yeah, it's just, you know, that's,
okay.
Minor detail.
I just want to know who picked her up on the rebound.
I don't know.
Okay, we can move on.
I wanted to. Speaking of Qui and Wedge, that is an interspecies relationship. I just have to read this because if you haven't read this in a while, you might forget how weird this part was between Winter and Akbar. I just have to read this.
Okay, go ahead, read it. Folks, this is about Kevin J. Anderson's trilogy. I'm sorry. This is what the episode's about.
So this is when Akbar takes a detour randomly to see Winter and baby Anakin, who's very close to both of them, randomly. It's a shame that Winter is relegated to a babysitter. She's the best spy in the New Republic. But anyway, they're sitting there. He's telling the story. And then after he's done, Winter says, "Will you stay here for an evening's rest?" Winter said, her sentence cut off sharply, as if she had been about to call him Admiral. "No, I can't. No one must suspect I've come here. If I delay too long, they will realize I have not gone directly to Calamari." Then Winter says, "Akbar, you know I have the greatest respect for your abilities. It would honor me if you would stay here with me instead of going into hiding on your homeworld." Akbar looked at the woman and felt a surge of emotion. Her mere suggestion had been powerful enough to strip away the layers of guilt and shame. When he did not answer immediately, she pressed, "I am all alone here, and I could use your help. It gets lonely for the baby, ... and for me." Akbar finally managed to speak, wishing Winter's gaze had given his answer before she could change his mind. "Your offer honors me, Winter, but I am not worthy, at least not at the moment. I must go to Calamari and search for peace there. If I find my peace, perhaps I shall return to you and the baby. I will be waiting if you change your mind." All right. I'm just saying that somebody needs to check Anakin for gills. There's something weird going on there. I don't know what it is, but there's something weird going on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm a little overclipped.
It's like maybe Anakin was actually the love child of Akbar and Leia. That's why he's so protective of her. That's why he's personally flying her in a B-wing. And then maybe it gets pushed to Winter because Leia knows, it's a weird baby Anakin. I don't want him. Winter, you take care of her.
Now that I think about it, I like Akbar and Winter together.
Kevin J. Anderson said it, and you're like, "Oh, I'm down for it."
Why?
All right, I can't take this serious. I'm out. Bye.
I'm telling you what. I know. You people are against interspecies relationships. I know why.
I also hated Kevin and Asir. I was glad.
Yeah, that was the worst relationship ever.
Now you want to cancel Akbar.
Just saying everything functioned real smooth under the Empire.
I'd actually forgotten about that. So
it's weird. And remember in New Jedi Order, when they go to Akbar to plan like the strategy going forward, Winter is with him. Winter's like rubbing his shoulder and putting her feet in his pool, and so it's weird. I don't know. Maybe something's going on there.
I never noticed this. You are rediscovering uncharted territory, my friend.
Yeah,
there's this. I think Tycho needs to go question Akbar.
That's what I'm saying. Tycho is
Tycho's saying something's fishy here.
Oh man. Oh gosh.
You're on to something here. Man, I need to go back and re-review the Jedi Academy trilogy.
For more reasons, yeah, than just that. But yeah. Don't forget blob racing. You can't miss blob racing. Make sure you get that one.
Blob racing.
I'm sure you do. Kevin J. Anderson.
Oh my goodness, that was great. They have to go through these little holes, squeeze, and come back together.
Yeah, that was part of Searching for Jedi. Was Lando betting on blob racing?
Yes, it's Lando, baby. Maybe I was just overshadowed because when you put Lando in your story, I'm just so happy. I'm so happy. I am. I absolutely love. I mean, that's another reason. I mean, I know you don't like the Black Fleet Crisis, but it had Lando. I gotta love it. I do, and I do love it.
I thought it was good. That was me.
I just love when people, and that's the one thing that Del Rey they failed to do was utilize Lando. I mean, sure, the New Jedi Order does a little bit here and there, and it's good, but they kind of, again, gets just dropped out and forgotten because people say, oh, he's kind of like a cheap version of Han. No, he's not. He's different. And he's so entertaining to read. He's such a great character, I think. So,
the honor of handing over the young Jedi to the Vong, being directly implicit in half of their deaths. So, yeah, congratulations, Lando. That was your time to shine, star by star. And he made the YVH hunter droid. So, I mean, that's pretty important to everything that happened. And he was around to like talk about the YVH droids. But yeah, as far as like what he did, I suppose you're right. He's not super utilized.
He's not utilized as much, and he could be. Because, I mean, sure, Lando's, all about making money and making love, not about making war. And he's always been that character. I know that, and that's why he would probably stay out of this. But he's definitely going to help when you need him. So ask him for help. And he's probably got a lot of good ideas. He's very creative and comes up with different angles on how to defeat someone. He can outwit his opponents. I don't know. I think he's just a really. I'm just shocked that what I felt was a pretty big character in the last two movies of the trilogy just gets largely ignored by a lot of people. Not everyone. I mean, he is there more, but he's more in Bantam than he is in Del Rey.
Yeah, he had the fantastic Black Fleet Crisis trilogy. He had a big part in those. It's one of my favorites as well.
You're this close. You're this close.
We haven't even started the show yet, really.
I think I'm going to call this the Akbar Winter Show now. I just, So
you thought Ray looks were bad. Wait till you get the win bars going.
I'll kick us off. Let me kick us off on our Sword of the Jedi. Here's what I think was going to happen. I think Akbar and Winter were finally going to tie the knot. Sure, he's dead, but she's going to dig up his corpse. Okay?
Some sort of Sith alchemy. Winter actually becomes a Sith.
Yeah,
exactly. I was going to say, we're just going to... It's just going to be an Akbar clone. No, it's an Akbar clone.
Or it's a flashback series where she flashes back to what was going on back in those times. Just like Michael Stackpole did, what was really going on during the Jedi Academy trilogy between Akbar and Winter. We get to find out in Sword of the Jedi. That's exactly what Christy Golden was going for. I'm almost positive.
Well, I actually think that we are gonna see a flashback like that, and we're actually going to see how Akbar was really just trying to get Tycho killed the entire time he was in charge of the New Republic military. Like every action, we see why Akbar was not willing to trust Wedge when he wanted Tycho to be his number 2. He wanted Tycho to die.
Front line. The front line, sir? Yes, on the front line. We need you leading them. Against the Death Star? Mm-hmm. I don't know. This looks kind of dangerous. You can do it. Are you a coward? No, sir. Go for it. You're reassigning me to Hoth? Why? We need agents on Hoth.
See, Akbar actually knew it was a trap the entire time at Endor, but went there in hopes that Tycho would die.
Wow. Wow. To be scary enough, that connection can make sense.
Let's get Michael Stackpole on it.
I honestly don't want to talk about Sword of the Jedi now because I think this is a better topic. I think we're going to skip it. I think we're going to save it.
You think Winbar was the better track?
I think that's a better comp. I never saw that. I just totally forgot about that.
I think I was too young when I read that. I think when I was too young when I read that, and I didn't see it. It sounds weird.
I'll tell you. Here's the reason that I absolutely know that well, not absolutely. Shouldn't say that, but this is why I enjoyed that series so much, or that I know I did, because I remember so many things. And that's kind of how I kind of grade books now. Is like, how well did things stick out with me? How many images stuck out? How well do I remember those? And I remember those pretty well. Now, of course, they were my favorites back then. And a lot of the Bantam stuff I do remember because I treasured those Bantam books. I mean, committed them to memory, would retell those stories to any of my friends from high school to college. I was just, if they wanted to hear about the books, I just run my mouth about it because I could not stop talking about the stories that I read. Even New Joe Order. I remember I was somewhere visiting someone, and I just made, someone said, oh, it's, there's a lot of pain involved when you're working on this, whatever. I said, embrace the pain. And I remember he looked at me and he went, you read Star Wars? And I was like, like some 80s rock ballad was playing, in the air, and we kind of came together and hugged real quick, bro hug, because I couldn't believe that he was reading New Joe Order. He's like, aren't those great? And I was like, yeah. And the conversation just went out of control. And I'm sure everyone else was looking at us going, what is going on? Come on, let's go take a shower. We need to wash the nerd off of us. But I mean, it was fun when you found someone else that read the books like that. It was so enjoyable. You automatically had a connection. I told you this is how I met Bruce, was through Jedi Academy trilogy, because I just bought them. I wasn't even talking to them. He was in line at a event. We were getting food, and he was in line, and I was talking to someone else saying, yeah, I just came back from a trip with my dad to Seattle, and my dad bought me the Jedi Academy trilogy to read on the plane. And I said, I didn't have time to read it, but I said, I can't wait to read it. I'm going to start tonight. And Bruce turned around and said, oh, you read Star Wars? I was like, yes. He went, okay, but before you read that, you need to read Dark Empire. I was like, the comic book? He went, yeah, it takes place after Dark Empire, and it mentions Dark Empire at the very beginning. I was like, it does? And I was like, oh my gosh, now I got to go to the comic book store and buy all the issues. He went, I got them. You can borrow them from me. And I was like, hi, what you make? Yeah, and we've been friends ever since, because, he was a big Star Wars fan. I was too. But you make those connections like that. And it's just awesome. And as the years went by, as Del Rey went by, I very rarely, I remember finding someone at my workplace back in the day who was reading the novels as they came out, the Del Rey novels. These things were bestsellers, but I couldn't, I didn't go to the right circles, I guess, to find out who was reading them. But whenever you found someone that was reading them and was, up on the story, you're like, oh my gosh, we got to talk. And I said, did you read the last book? Yes, I did. And then we just sit there and just dissect it. It was just so much fun. Just like this is. I mean, this conversation is seriously, we're skipping Tour of the Jedi, folks. We'll save that for another month.
You sure?
I'm gonna do it when Ryan can't do it. Okay. And Brian and I will talk about. No. I seriously, I want to skip it. I want to talk about Tour of the Jedi later. But the other topic that I had, because I really did enjoy this topic. So Ryan said he wanted to take 5 minutes, which turned out to be 35 minutes. But you know what? I enjoyed every second of this. I really have.
I'm not even done with. I haven't even started reading Champions of the Force yet again. So
hey, folks, we'll come back here next month as he tells us about Champions of the Force, and he totally bends the knee and says, "Matt, you were right this entire time."
Yeah, I think that when I see 2.5-year-old Jason, not only doing things that regular 2.5-year-olds aren't supposed to do, but then also fending off everyone with a lightsaber, I'll totally have changed my mind. I will say that the character,
he had the ghost of Luke.
I know
him.
Oh, I know. I'm totally down. I get it, and I can explain it. But the problem is, in this era, one, they don't know what to do with the kids. And two, they don't know how to write kids as kids for the age you're supposed to be. These guys aren't 2.5. They're acting like 6-year-olds. The conversations they're having and what they're doing, they're not 2.5.
Well, I see your point there. As Jedi, though, all of them act older than they should. now people are going to hate me, and I'm not making a comment, but there's no way Anakin is that mature in Junior Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
I don't see it with that. But the thing is, though, Anakin was what, a little bit mature. Well, he was getting a character in the Corellian trilogy. That's when he really started stepping up a little bit.
That's right.
He got imprinted on the
Center Point Station.
So you finally see, but even he felt a little bit wiser than however years old he was. And so I guess they said, oh, they're Jedi children, so they got to be smarter. Like Paul Atreides' Children of Dune, his children are already these wise beings, and they're like 6 years old. So I think that was kind of the mysticism about it, because they're Jedi, so they have to be endued with a little bit wiser age. I agree with you, though. I think that's a little far-fetched. It was not needed. They need to act like kids. They needed to act like kids and make irrational decisions. But that's why we should have had a series based off Chance Calrissian. Can you imagine Chance Calrissian? He's like, hey.
I just want to see Chance trying to hook up with Alana the whole time.
That's the thing.
That was sort of the Jedi.
The legitimate.
Yeah, that was sort of the Jedi. Chance Calrissian was trying to, get with Alana. So that was what it was going to be about.
I mean, when you first hear about Chance, he's a little baby or a kid or something, a toddler, and you're like, I want to know more about him. And the whole time I was begging them to bring Chance into the storyline. Why? Because I want to hear about, maybe just do a side story, just like Black Fleet Crisis, where Lando's story didn't connect to anything, but it was just fun. During the Fate of the Jedi, when everything's, going to heck in a handbasket, we should have had a B story going where it's Lando and I forgot Tendra at the house, just having a crazy zany day as Chase goes, Chase is missing and they go looking for him, and he gets in all these wild situations like the movie Baby's Day Out, if you remember that awful movie where the baby's always getting in trouble but always somehow lands safely or whatever or escapes all these terrors. That Chance is doing this. I think this would be great. I
can't believe that they didn't add that into the expanded universe when all two people had asked for that. Matt Wilkins and another random person, another email account called Watt Milkins. I don't know. I can't believe that Lucasfilm didn't listen to you.
And here, Brian, I thought I was going to say, Matt, we were the only two that wanted it.
No, he wasn't even going to give you that much.
He wasn't even going to give me that because, it's my channel. He wonders why he wasn't invited last month. That's the thing. He doesn't realize just take the shovel and just dig a little bit deeper. Why don't you? Make fun of my desire to see a family man and a family together.
Yeah, I feel like Fate of the Jedi during the middle of that might not have been the best time for it. But I'm down with a side Lando story if they wanted to do a book like that. I would have definitely bought it and read it. I can't say I ever would have asked for it, but I would have read it.
Okay, hold on one moment. How much is Naughty Dog's bounty on you right now? And they just cash in on it. Okay, well, the other topic, I did enjoy this topic. We'll save Sword of the Jedi for another day. But I do want to talk about the music of the expanded universe. Folks, this was a topic that I discussed with Brian. It may have been even a year ago now that I'm thinking about it.
It's been a while.
We were talking about how much we love just the music and how it doesn't get enough love. And I was like, we should make that a more Civilized Age discussion. And I just never got around to it. So I do want to talk about that because if you watch Christopher Nelson's channel, he posts a video once every 2 years or whenever Halley's Comet circles the Earth. Again, I can't remember how often it happens, but he posted one about Shadows of the Empire. If you don't know this, folks, just released a LP for it, a record for Shadows of the Empire. Now that's kind of wild and kind of odd that this event, this crossover event that happened to promote this book back in 1997 is now getting its own record. I love that though. I love it.
Really cool.
I have a record player. It usually only gets played during Christmas time because Christmas music over a record player is just gorgeous. It reminds me of my childhood because we played a lot of records back then. and records. Old Christmas music on that scratch record is just beautiful. I absolutely love it. And every once in a while we'll crack open. My little girls love the Chipmunks albums, so I have all the old Chipmunks albums. We'll play those too and have a good time. But I'm thinking now that I may need to add Shadows of the Empire to my collection because and it's very cheap. It's under $20 on Amazon, I believe.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting it too. That's too hard to pass up, something like that.
Just to kind of talk about Shadows of the Empire, we've talked about the book and novel, but I just want to focus on the music here. Joel McNeely did the music, and he's no John Williams. However, I just recently re-listened to the entire soundtrack again. Ryan, did you ever buy the soundtrack and listen to the soundtrack?
I never bought the soundtrack for anything other than the original 6. I had the soundtrack for the prequels and the OT, but I actually played Shadows of the Empire, and since YouTube has existed, I've listened to the KOTOR soundtrack and the SWTOR, which we'll get into later. But as far as just Shadows, no, I don't own the soundtrack.
Shadows, I think I just re-listened to it. It's on Amazon Prime. I re-listened to it on Amazon Prime, and I think it's beautiful.
Yes, they did a good job with it.
They really did. Go ahead, Brian.
I was telling you guys before the show actually started, I'm running a tabletop game for my sisters and a couple of their friends right now. And I had to find music to play along with some of these things. And one of the enemies they've come up against is the Black Sun at one point. And I'm like, wait, Shadows of the Empire exists. There was a lot of Black Sun in that. Mm-hmm. Is there anything from Black Sun? Ooh, yeah. I could use Shizor's theme.
which is brilliant. I absolutely love that theme. I love the last, the 10-minute or whatever the last, what is it called? As the ending.
The Skyhook one?
Yeah, the Sky.
Basically his dash,
yeah.
dies. Yeah.
I just love it. Now, one of the things I remember in the CD, I still have the CD, is when I opened up, because I used to play it on the CD player when I was at home, because I bought it the time it came out, because I would try to read it with the soundtrack, but you can't do that because you read a lot slower than that soundtrack skips ahead. But I would just put it on loop and just keep letting it play because I enjoyed that background music. And I remember reading the inside of it. Now, I don't know if the LP will have this. I'm sure it will. I'm sure it has all the same stuff that the CD had on it. But do you remember the random reference to Mango Baobab?
No, I can't say I do.
Who's from the Droids cartoon. He's a merchant from the Droids cartoon. And I was like, what? Now, back then, the internet wasn't that big a deal, but I had the encyclopedia. And I had to look up his name because I didn't know who this guy was. And I was like, from Droids? What? I said, what kind of I was intrigued. I said, what kind of connection? No, they just put it in there as just something fun because they knew EU people would get that. I mean, someone like me who I don't think I'd seen Droids back then. When it came out back in the day, I was around, but it didn't show in my area. Ewoks did. And I remember watching that as a kid, but Droids wasn't available in my area at the time. If it was, I would have watched it.
You didn't like Ewoks at all.
Oh, what?
You didn't like Ewoks at all?
No, I love the Ewoks cartoon. How dare you, sir? And by the way, I ate multiple boxes of 3PO's cereal as a kid too. And I'll be honest, if they ever, I don't know why they haven't reprinted that. Because, I'm the one that has kids now, and you make 3PO's, it's Star Wars, people would probably eat it. And I'll be honest, I would buy a box because I remember 3PO's being pretty tasty.
They slam Star Wars on lettuce nowadays. They have Disney Star Wars lettuce.
Yeah, why not have Star Wars 3PO? You already have a really good product. I was upset when that left the supermarket. I was like, what? Because 3POs are really good. A lot of those cereals, like Super Mario Brothers and Zelda, they tasted like vomit in a bowl. I used to beg my mom to buy me that cereal, and then I'd taste it and spit it back out. I was like, oh no. And mom made me eat every spoonful. And I mean, she should have, because I begged her to buy that cereal for us, and it was terrible. So some cereals just weren't good. But anyway, 3PO's was excellent. Anyway, I'm getting
cereal of the expanded universe.
The cereal of the expanded universe. That's 3PO's. I don't know why they didn't make an Ewok themed cereal. That would have been Ewok berries.
They didn't?
Which you don't eat. Think about it, because those aren't berries.
These are chocolate flavored.
Yeah, these are chocolate flavored. Mm-hmm. And it's wicked, like, Step 2, cut a hole in the bowl. You know what I'm saying? But Yub nub, I'm telling you. But anyway, I absolutely think Shadows of the Empire is a brilliant soundtrack. I actually got my hopes up because, as you know, in 1997 was it was a big year for music because whoever had the rights, the CD rights at the time, brought out Shadows of the Empire, the Ewoks movie soundtrack, and the Christmas album from 1980. They re-released it in 97 as a CD. And,
so I missed the other two.
Oh, I bought all of them. I was shocked when I was like, shut up. They had I didn't find this out till like, it was early 2000s that they had come out with an Ewok CD the same year too. I was like, oh, because I saw the Christmas album and didn't know what it was. I thought it was a brand new album. I didn't know that, back then I wasn't as familiar with it. And I didn't know it'd come out in 1980 as a, record. I thought it was a 1997 release. I was like, wow, this is really weird. I bought it and listened to it. And honestly, have you listened to the Christmas album from 1980, Ryan?
I've heard it. I've heard it before. I haven't owned it, but I have heard the Christmas one.
Well, go ahead.
I don't remember any of the. I remember like the intro, watching the intro to the Droids show, but I couldn't get that in my head right now if I tried.
Oh man.
Memorable.
We're in trouble again, or whatever it's called. Man,
it was memorable for some of us, apparently.
Oh, it's catchy, man. It's catchy. Ewoks were the Ewoks. I was like, yeah, I loved it. I was into it. It's totally campy stuff, but
I was just too young for it. That stuff was like gone by the time I was, my parents weren't gonna put that on.
Yeah, but that Christmas album. Man, that is the first thing that gets played every season in my house.
Nice.
I put in the Star Wars Christmas album. My wife loves the song R2-D2, We Wish You a Merry Christmas. She's a huge R2-D2 fan. And the kids, for a Christmas present, C-3PO implanted something into R2's memory banks, and he accesses it, and it's a bunch of kids singing Merry Christmas to R2-D2. And by the way, yeah, they say, R2-D2, we wish you happy holidays. No, that's not the line. It's we wish you a Merry Christmas.
They said Merry Christmas. They weren't talking about Life Day?
No. I don't know if they mentioned Life Day, but they mention, Christmas is they mention Christmas. So
there's some kind of discrepancy in canon there. I'm going to get that taken care of.
Now, there's a big discrepancy because Bon Jovi stars as it's S. Claus, not Santa Claus. It's S. Claus in the universe. He travels and gives kids presents all across the galaxy. And the first John Bon Jovi, this is his first recorded song, was on the Star Wars Christmas album. That's how he got his start.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go listen to it now.
Yeah. Young John, because his dad owned the recording studio. And he said, hey, do you want it? They couldn't find anyone to sing this. I said, my nephew can sing. So they brought him in to do that one song. And that was his first recorded song. And then from there, of course, he went on to be that legend in the 80s or later on. But when you first get that first album, it's like, what have you done, kid? Well, I did a Star Wars album. You were in Star Wars, and this is back in the early Star Wars, and so I'm sure that catapulted his career there.
Just a tad.
I'm sure at concerts he replays that song from the 1980 Star Wars album. No, probably not. But I mean, there's a great song on there. What do you get a Wookiee for Christmas when he already owns a comb?
I've heard that one before. I've heard that one.
That's great, man. That's good stuff.
It's good.
We'll have to do it just another listen through because honestly, well, yes. Never mind. That was a stupid question. Disney's going to strike my channel down if I even play the 1980s. Christmas.
You'll get copyright claimed in a couple minutes. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I probably did just by singing the Ewoks theme song just now, but
yeah,
it wasn't good enough. You're safe.
Okay.
It's the limit. It has to be done well enough.
I'm so sorry that we brought Evil Ryan on the podcast today with his beard.
I have to live. Yeah, it is. It's like
this is mirror universe, Ryan.
It's like when Spock gets the beard. Yeah, that's basically it.
Nice.
But I have to live up. Listen, it can't all be niceties. It's a more civilized age. I'm supposed to represent the more toxic side of fandom, right? I'm just trying to play the role.
Very toxic there. There's the Ewok soundtrack was composed. Both of those movies were composed by Peter Bernstein, whose dad was a composer, but I didn't really know who he was. But Peter Bernstein, I know him well because he did the music for Stargate SG-1, which is also pretty good. Now, I don't think he has any big other movies or shows underneath his belt. I could be wrong, but I don't remember his name from anywhere else. But I absolutely love, of course I do, because I'm an Ewok fan, but I think the music from the Ewoks Caravan of Courage and Ewoks Battle for Endor are just wonderful. I've listened to that album a billion times. Sadly, that one's not on Amazon Prime, but, you know, I guess not many people are interested in Ewok movies. But, again, another solid album from the EU. I'm sure YouTube has it if you want to listen to it. Now, Ryan, want to talk about the video game, music from the video games.
Yeah, so when you said, you just said music from the expanded universe, and obviously that's one of the things that, you know, you talk about a lot is the fact that you're just not very into video games, video game aspect. And to me, that's where, like, all the music of the expanded universe I can think of comes from the video games, because it's not like nowadays where you pick up Battlefront 2 and it's completely just songs from the movies. That's basically the entire score of that game. And I know because anytime I play it on my channel, I immediately get copyright struck by John Williams. Or not struck, sorry, copyright claimed by John Williams for about 1 million things.
Folks, if you don't know, Ryan runs a video game channel.
Basically, that's what it is now. Although I did just post a video about Star Wars a couple hours ago, so, you know.
What?
Yeah, I did.
You still cover that?
Every once in a while. Well, specifically, Star Wars actress is getting harassed by a Twitter mob, so that, you know, that's relevant enough to make a video on. Okay. So, but
hey, Matt, before you go too much further, there is one game Matt played that does have its own soundtrack from the expanded universe. I know for a fact that Matt's played Rogue Squadron.
I did play Rogue Squadron, and you're right, that did have exclusive music, and I love Rogue Squadron, and I love the music to Rogue Squadron. But I do want to hear about SWTOR and, you know, stuff like that, because I know they did have music, but I don't remember it. So,
you know, SWTOR, Brian knows, Brian plays all the time. The SWTOR soundtrack is immense. It's huge.
It sounds like Star Wars.
Do we know who composed it?
Krisky? I gotta remember.
I have no idea who composed any of these, but SWTOR, you have so many different planets, and you have Republic, you have Empire, you know, you have a multitude of planets, John, and all of them have, you know, there's different themes and stuff depending on what planet you may be on. And that game, you can put hundreds of hours into that game. So the soundtrack needs to be robust enough that you're not just hearing the same thing over and over and over again. And I think it just does a really good job of putting you in that universe without using really very many callbacks to any original Star Wars music. It's just its own thing in a lot of ways. And so I've always really enjoyed SWTOR.
No, it all sounds very Star Wars too. They did a great job of making it sound the right way too. And just, you know, off the top of my head, there are several tracks from SWTOR that are really good. I've liked both of the entrance musics because they recently just changed that with their Onslaught expansion to a different soundtrack. There's also, I think it's one of the soundtracks that's associated with Balmorra that they also use for Darth Revan when he shows up in the game. It's considered his theme. It's very popular. But even before SWTOR, the KOTOR games were doing some good music too. Yes. There's a soundtrack from the planet Manan that plays when you're just doing whatever, running around Manan, and it's like, that soundtrack is amazing. It's just definitely recommended that you check into some of these expanded universe game soundtracks.
Here's a good question. I mean, I just checked. You can listen to them on YouTube, of course. But the thing is, why didn't they ever come out with a CD or an album of
something that's always frustrated me with video game music?
It's so popular. It's a super popular game. It's Star Wars. You know, this is not really far-fetched an idea, but to be honest, someone like me, I would probably buy it. I don't even play the video game, but I'd love to hear the music.
the collector's edition for SWTOR did have a sample, which I did pick up the collector's edition initially because I'm just that way when it comes to these things. But I was like, ooh, it has a CD. I'm buying it because they aren't going to release it outside of that. Now the SWTOR, the official SWTOR channel, did just post like a full playlist of all the music in the game. Well, most of the music in the game, and it's a good long like 70-something list. It's pretty good. So definitely check that out because it's got some good stuff on there. Definitely. Even their more recent expansions had like, I kind of felt like the story was kind of getting a little bit away from the Star Wars-y feel, but yet the music kind of pulled it back for me. So they did a great job on that. It really did.
I wonder if we should revisit this topic again because Ryan can listen to some of the albums we talked about, and I can listen to the SWTOR soundtrack. He doesn't like that idea already. I can tell on his face. But I would gladly listen to the SWTOR soundtrack because I would like to.
That was just evil Ryan's face, normal face.
Yeah.
True.
He's like, I'm not listening to the Ewoks Battle for Endor soundtrack. I have a family, I have a reputation, and I have my pride.
And I do have videos about video games to make, so only so much time on my hands to talk about Star Wars.
One soundtrack that most people might have missed, though, and this is one that actually forced me into learning how to build computers, ironically, but because I couldn't play the game on my own computer and I had tried it on somebody else, I had to play this game on my computer. So I learned to build a computer to play this one game, and it was because one soundtrack in the early part of the game. It's called Force Commander, Star Wars Force Commander. An okay game, but it had a lot of great soundtracks. What they like to do is remix a lot of the music from the movies into like more of a, I guess like a rock style or electronic guitar. There's a couple of remixes of like the Imperial March that are pretty popular. So definitely look at that one too.
That's cool.
Okay, that's interesting. See, that's the thing. Like I said, video games were my weak spot because even though I was playing video games back then and I was reading Star Wars books, you think it'd be a perfect marriage to have Star Wars video games for me. But for some reason,
it works well for a channel.
I'm telling you, it obviously does. But I just never got into that many Star Wars video games. I was playing tons of video games, but they just weren't Star Wars. I can't really explain why a lot of these, because I remember people were just raving about them. I was like, okay. And I love Star Wars. I was reading the books at this time in the comic books, but the two didn't match up. Like right now, Brian, I'm of course big into board games too. And people are like, oh, how many do you play? They name all these new Star Wars board games I heard great things about. No, I just never had the interest. Why? You love board games. You love Star Wars, right? Yeah, those some of my favorite things.
Block in there, and you just kind of keep them separated.
I don't know.
You're the guy on Thanksgiving where all your food can't be touching. Has to all be. I like all these things. I just don't want them to touch.
Yeah, are you?
That's me. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Well, and I just remembered another one as we were sitting here. Jango Fett Bounty Hunter. That one that has I don't know if it's completely unique, but there are definitely unique tracks in it for sure. I've played a little bit of that because it's on PlayStation 4 right now. I'm sure it's on other stuff as well, but the controls don't hold up. Like the way it's set up does not hold up anymore. But the game is awesome, and the soundtrack is very unique. And as soon as you get to that title screen, it's just like that initial theme. When I loaded it up.
What about all the soundtracks from Republic Commando, though, with all the Mandalorian singing?
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that one. It's been a long time since I played Republic Commando.
The soundtrack, I've been using that a lot in my tabletop game, actually. It works really well.
I'm writing all these down because I am seriously considering listening to all this music now.
It's good stuff.
What was the one you just mentioned, Ryan?
Republic.
Jango Fett.
Jango Fett.
It's Star Wars Bounty Hunter is the name of the video game.
Yeah.
Because I bet a lot of this is already on YouTube or something.
Oh yeah, you can find most of it there.
I'm sorry, I was go ahead.
Buy it so fast. It would be among my top wanted purchases out there.
And I really should be, because I mean, even though I tried playing some of these, KOTOR, and it was that ship had failed. You know, for me, the graphics aren't as good, but that's harsh to say because back in the day the graphics were, you know, spot on probably, and people still love it. And
Mhm.
graphics shouldn't really matter because I still love playing the original Legends of Zelda for crying out loud. You know, I'm down
Yeah.
for that. But
Another series with great music.
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, shoot, way back in the day, you're talking like good stuff there. But I like original soundtracks, and it's sad that things like Battleground, which has an excellent opportunity to do these masterful original soundtracks, aren't doing that anymore. It's kind of sad. They're just kind of rehashing old, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. John Williams stuff isn't bad by far. I love John Williams.
It's good
But
stuff, but they
I
have a chance
like
for.
to hear original stuff, and I'm curious about that because I love soundtracks, I love stuff like that, and I am going to make an effort to listen to these, and maybe we pick back up this conversation again because this is something that's, you know,
You could almost go soundtrack by soundtrack and just start talking about each one of them. It's that good.
That's interesting. Any other video game soundtracks?
Oh, plenty.
Really? No, Brian, go right ahead.
I mean, we mentioned all the Rogue Squadron games have some good ones, but I think the first one probably the most unique stuff. X-Wing Alliance did a lot of remixes from the movies, so that doesn't really count. But I can't recall what the X-Wing games or TIE Fighter game did. They probably did something similar because a lot of those space simulators did.
Yeah.
Both the KOTOR games have great soundtracks. SWTOR, a lot of the more recent stuff tended to have good soundtracks. What I don't remember, Star Wars Demolition, everybody hates that game. It had some interesting soundtracks. And that
What
note
type
for
of
anybody who actually has that game from PlayStation, the actual CD has the soundtrack hidden on it that you can actually pull from it.
Oh,
if
wow.
you have that, so you technically have the soundtrack for that game if you have the PlayStation CD.
You know, I remember Masters of the Terrace Key.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that one has one too.
You could put in your CD player and listen to the music from it, which I thought was really awesome.
Was it just like a PlayStation game thing? It might have been.
It's the original PlayStation, right?
The original PlayStation, their soundtracks were written on those CDs, and you could play them in your CD player at the same time, which was a really cool feature when you think about it, because CDs were hot back then too. So it's almost like you had the best of both worlds. Now, if I remember, it wasn't original music from Masters of the Terrace Key, but I was so enthralled that I had 7 tracks from the Star Wars trilogy that were on that CD. I thought that was really cool. That was one of that Rogue Squadron 1 and 2, which I absolutely hated 2. I never played 3.
One had the best soundtrack anyway.
You know, and then older games like Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, Super Return of the Jedi, which I absolutely loved those games.
Which Rogue Squadron? Which one was Rogue Leader? The one where you like got to actually move around on the ground too? Which one was that one?
The second one? I think that was I want to say it was the second one.
I kind of like that one. It wasn't great, but the thing I always remember vividly in my mind is being Wedge Antilles, going to Geonosis, using an E-Web cannon to destroy a Clone Wars era ship, and then taking Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter to escape Geonosis and dropping and that was also when you had the bombs like Django had on the fire spray.
Yeah, the sonic bombs.
Yeah, the bombs were like boom and shatter all the meteors. Like that is a mission in that game, and it's so cool.
Right.
I really like
and the Obi-Wan Starfighter on Geonosis because it was left behind in the movies. It was like brilliant.
Yeah, it's like a little convenient there, but this is a video game.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, well, we've gone our hour here and then some bonus minutes. So I'm going to end it here and just say, hey, folks, let us know. Let us know what type of music do you really appreciate from the expanded universe? Did you play these video games? What music did we miss? Is there some original music in some of these video games that you really love? Like, you know, I'm really interested in hearing what their comments will be because I am going to start listening to this. I think it's going to be great. And then you'll join us. I'll probably have the same group back next month. We'll pick back up, maybe talk a little bit more about the music, maybe talk about Sword of the Jedi, maybe talk about what an Akbar Winter Baby would have really looked like. But
turns out it would have looked literally like Anakin Skywalker or Anakin Solo. So.
Look, they need to tell us out there if they're Winbar fans too. I mean, it's got to be.
That's true. And everyone feel free to put in the comments how Ryan is so completely wrong about the Kevin J. Anderson Jedi Academy trilogy. I'd really appreciate if you did that too. So again, I want to thank both of my guests. Folks, go ahead. Don't forget, still keep your donations going for Twin Suns Foundation. Everything's put on hold for obvious reasons, but they still plan once everything pops up. They're going to go back to giving those donations out and getting those books into those kids' hands. So don't stop your donations just for now. It's just going to be a bigger donation and multiple donations when it does happen. Because
we have 3 lined up right now. It's just a matter of when.
And more lining up with your donations. So make sure to do that. You can also do Amazon Smiles like them, and Amazon will throw a few cents their way, but they are tax deductible donations. So why don't you just give them a straight donation and do that? If you have a company that matches donations to charitable places, they are legitimate, a charitable organization. So go ahead and put them down at work. Also, I want to thank RK. I used to talk about the EU Outpost for joining my channel, and you're right. It's always fun. It's always fun. I know the reason I think I know this. The reason my channel does not grow is because I refuse to grow. I like to talk about my same 2 topics, and if I don't, you need to adapt because people's interests do change, and you're really good at that. So.
Well, I try, and I only talk about things I'm interested in, but I try to kind of gauge my audience's interest in that thing as well. So it doesn't mean that I'm not talking about Star Wars or that I'm not talking about DC. I just happen to be talking more about video games right now because YouTube is showing me that that's what people want to see from my channel right now. So I'm obliged, and that is a good way to grow. So as with everything YouTube related, it ebbs and it flows. So when it flows, you got to go. And it'll eventually ebb again. So just how it'll be.
Great.
Thanks for having me on, Matt. I'm glad I was here. The Kevin J. Anderson love has to be tampered down a little bit. It can't just be all love all the time. We got to bring some reality into the equation.
Wow. So I'm sorry, folks. Let me correct it. Next month, Brian and I will be talking about all these topics. I don't know if Ryan's going to be able to join. We'll see. You'll have to find out on a more civilized age next month. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching the podcast here, or the show here. And we will see